Most of us carry questions we never say out loud. Questions about loss, identity, contradictions, and what it means to be human. This podcast is a place to sit with these questions without rushing towards answers. I am Aya Karuni, and this is You and Aya. This episode is sponsored by Carbon Coffee Lounge on 33rd and A in Lincoln, Nebraska. Today's episode is with Kevin Oliver. Kevin Oliver is a bookbinder. I went to his store because we had mutual friends that wanted to visit him. They're also obsessed with binding books. His store is so cool. But anyways, that's not the point. The point is he is obsessed with the book Moby-Dick. And I've heard so many stories about Moby-Dick. Honestly, I always thought it's just, a sailor and the whale. Like, who cares about Moby-Dick? And turns out he is fascinated by so many aspects about Moby-Dick. So he's writing his own book about it. It's not like a Moby-Dick version that Kevin Oliver wrote. It's more of a read along while you read Moby-Dick. So he tells you where the pages are, what page you need to open on Moby-Dick. It's pretty amazing. But the most surprising thing about it, it's not really about Moby-Dick. It's obviously the characters that represent him in real life in the book Moby-Dick. But you'll be surprised what character it is. So I'll keep it up to you to find out. And it's actually a fascinating episode. I had no idea it was going to take the turn that it did. And I'm so glad to have Kevin Oliver as a guest. I hope you enjoy it. To be continued. Kevin
Thanks.
Oliver.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am great. It's a beautiful morning.
It is beautiful and it's cold.
It is nice and crisp.
Yes. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for the invite.
So I just want to tell us about you. Who is Kevin Oliver?
I am importantly, I believe I'm a native Nebraskan. I was born in Grand Island, 1969, and I've spent my whole life here, other than the about half a year or so I spent in England when I was studying bookbinding, which then led to my career as a professional bookbinder, in which I restore and rebind old and rare books for folks all over the world. So
that's incredible. I've been to your store. Your store is so cool. If you haven't gotten the chance to go to Signature Bindery, it's like one of the coolest stores in Lincoln, honestly. So we met about a year ago.
Yes.
Through our mutual friend, Jim Walker.
Yes.
And we were just, talking about how much you liked my podcast, season 1 and season 2. We had some similarities about losing loved ones at one point and whatnot that kind of connected us together. Right. But then things shifted, and then you told me that you have an obsession about a book named Moby-Dick.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to walk us through about this obsession of yours? Like, when did it start? Why is it happening? And it's continued to happen years later.
Sure.
Can
I give you a little more detail first on how we met?
Please.
Because I think it's appropriate. And I was at a coffee shop and I saw Jim walk in, and he had sat down at a table nearby and pulled out some of the most interesting looking little journals, and that he was writing in and reading. And the bookbinder in me, I notice books. Before I notice people, I notice books. And I saw his books, and eventually I just had to get up, and I had to come up to this interesting looking fellow and say, I love these books. Did you make these? And he told me yes. So I told him that my name and that I have the bindery down the street. And he kind of lit up and he goes, I know that place, but I've been a little nervous about going there. And so that's the sort of the impetus that started my friendship with Jim. And as a result, he instantly, within minutes, started telling me about you and your podcast, which I found amazing and beautiful. And so I looked into it, and I was so moved by what you were talking about, the loss of your father. And it made me realize that it's the loss of my father that brought me to hopefully bring an end to this obsession I have with Moby-Dick. So it is kind of a strange connection. And I love strange connections. And so, and Moby-Dick is about strange connections also. Yes, when I was in third grade in Grand Island at Lincoln Elementary School, I have such a clear memory of this. Now I'm 50, about to be 57. So this is a long time ago, almost 50 years ago. And but as this small boy in this small town elementary school, it was one of those old large brick structures built after World War I. And down in the basement was the library. And I spent, even as a kid, a lot of time in the library. And I remember wandering down the aisles. When I'd walk down the aisles, I'd put my arms out and I'd let my fingers touch the books on each side of the row. And it was, I was a little kid. And so, imagine this little boy with his arms spread completely out so that he could touch the books. And I would do that all the time. I still love to do that. And I remember walking along and seeing, this is an elementary school library. And I'm walking along seeing all these normal kids' books. And these were like chapter books. So these were not like the picture books. These were, actual chapters in these books. And all of a sudden I saw this book that didn't belong there at all. It was huge.
Was it this one?
It was not this very one, but it was this big.
Okay.
Now imagine a book this size in an elementary school library.
That's pretty big.
Yeah. And compared to things that everything around it was just, 50 pages maybe.
Yeah.
And I was entranced by the size of it, but also by this simple white image of a whale stamped on the spine. And my mind went crazy.
Whoa. And
I remember this so clearly that it was just like my imagination just left my body.
Getting the goosebumps. This is insane.
And suddenly I was there. I was out on the sea as a little boy. And this is what I did with books. I was one of those kids, and I still am as an adult. My imagination just let go and said, okay, I'm no longer in Lincoln Elementary School library. I am out at sea.
And that was the feeling when you touched the book?
When I touched it, when I saw it,
or?
And I just stared at it, and I couldn't understand. I didn't know anything about this, And then, eventually it kind of, my thoughts came back to me, and then I looked at the book, and I saw Moby-Dick. Okay. And then underneath that whale, was the name Melville. And I didn't know that name either. But I said, I need this book. And so I checked the book out. And I remember also, and I write about this in my book, I remember thinking that this librarian must think I'm such a smart little child to be checking out such a big book. And I was so proud of it that I was checking out this book. And there were no other names on the card in the back.
Yeah.
I wrote my name. I took it home. I tried reading it. And of course, there in the beginning are probably the most famous 3 words in all of American literature.
I know what it is.
Call me Ishmael.
Yes.
There is nothing in American literature that compares to those words.
I had to search that to like really like, I was like, should I have something like that for you and I, like a little sentence?
There it is.
It's so amazing. Just these 3 words. So
right.
Tell me more about this.
And so it even struck me then. And I think the part that struck me was that it was like I was talking to somebody. I was not reading a book. This person was talking to me. This was the first time I'd, even as a child, really experienced the first person narrative voice in writing. And so Melville, through Ishmael, was talking to me. Mm-hmm. And it connected so much. And it pained me that I could not make it past even maybe a page or 2. Because that book should not have been there.
So do you think that book was put there specifically for you, for your own
Absolutely.
legacy? Like, I mean, out of nowhere, you're in
Yes.
third grade, you have these little tiny chaptered book, and all of a sudden Moby-Dick is there. Like,
Yes.
that's kind of destined in a way, no?
And that's how Moby-Dick works. And I never realized it until now. Now that I'm only about 50 pages from the end.
Okay.
This is what Moby-Dick does. Moby-Dick is a hunting whale, different than every other whale in the world. All other whales run away, but Moby-Dick runs after. He chases those who are after him. He's not afraid. And so that's what this book did. It was like it was coming for me, and I was not expecting it.
Wow.
And over, I checked out that book. And I can't not exaggerate when I say over and over and over and over and over, I checked out that book. And my name kept filling up the list
You were
in
the
the back
only
of the book.
person
I was
on
the
the back.
only person in the back of this. And I took pride in that. But there was this little bit of frustration as this little boy that why can't I figure this out?
You were only in third grade.
Yeah.
What were you like?
But I didn't see it that way.
So you would just kind of read the first page and then stop because you didn't understand
I didn't understand it.
Okay.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand the words. I didn't get the sort of meter of his writing, of Melville's writing. But it's being in third grade wasn't an excuse, because this happened to me as I grew older. In junior high, it happened to me. But that time I got a little further. I remember reading it in college. I was in a fraternity in college. I remember sitting in my fraternity room in college, maybe getting 20 pages into it. And I mean, I was a university English major, studying medieval literature, Anglo-Saxon, studying the origins of English. And I could not get through Melville.
Wow.
Yeah. And it became, as I got older, it became so much more frustrating.
Why do you think that is? Why? I mean, when you were young, there was an excuse of like, I was young and I couldn't. So what happened when you grew older? Was it something internal that was?
I think the best way I can describe it is that I was being kept from it. Something out there in the universe or in the deep fathoms of the ocean, perhaps the whale itself was saying, nope, it's not your time.
Not your time yet. But it's a bit ironic if you think about it. It appears to you in third grade. Right. And then as you are in your mid 30s and 40s and now 50s, 40s, it's still kind of like keeping you away from it. So like, why do you think that is? Because
even Melville, while he's writing it as Ishmael, there's a wonderful line in there, and I should have tagged it, but it's sort of easy to paraphrase. Ishmael, writing in Moby-Dick, about halfway through, Ishmael even says to God, he says, "Why can't I finish this? What does it take me to finish this draft?" And I could tell this is Melville, because imagine the undertaking in 1850 of writing a book like this with no electricity, requiring immense amount of research and study in a world where there is no internet, there is no Google, there's no nothing. There are really almost pretty much no bookstores. Libraries are out there, but they're not easy to get to. But Melville did it. But you could hear the frustration in his voice, in his words, when he says, "Why can't I finish this? Don't let this draft become a draft of a draft."
Oh, boy.
And I read that, and it was just like, it hit me. It was like a harpoon. It was like, oh, my gosh. This is what I've been dealing with, because I'm not alone in this. And what has played out in my life is this distinct trait that I have trouble finishing things.
Oh.
I have trouble seeing things through to completion. And that's what this problem has plagued me. I look around in your your digs here. And this brings back so many memories. The time I had my house, an old bungalow, doing things like this to the bungalow. And I would make it through most of the construction, but there would always be something that I wouldn't finish. Until the day I left that house, there were things that I started that I never finished. And it always kind of saddened me. But this has always been there, this toughness in bringing something to a conclusion.
Do you think that it has to do with some sort of like a perfection that you need to make it? Like, some people don't go through projects because they want it to be extremely perfect, or they want to come to a certain conclusion to it, and they just decide that it's better to like leave it like this than to actually finish it. Do you think?
I think
that is
less
what you're
so the
dealing
idea
with?
of perfection, but more so what you just mentioned, the idea of leaving it like this instead of coming to a conclusion. It's this idea that if you finish something, then you have to put it away, and it's no longer a part of your life.
Maybe.
And when other people revel in that, they see it as a trophy. Yes. And that's one of the things that frustrated me. I had multiple friends, many colleagues, who would pick up Moby-Dick, read, get through the end. Oh, that was an interesting book, and set it aside. And it would frustrate me so much because I couldn't do that.
What if Kevin Oliver doesn't want to finish?
I don't
Moby-Dick?
want to finish
I
it.
really think, I feel like now
At this point, it's hard.
Okay, so
Yeah.
What is it? Third grade? How old would you have been?
Seven. I started young, so
Okay,
I would have
that's
been
like
about
50
7.
years.
So I coming up on 50 years.
I think it's like
Yeah.
an obsession in a positive way, maybe for you.
Yeah, I think it is. But the interesting thing that, in my mind, that is allowing me and giving me the strength of this was that that my father died, and that is what really comes down to what I'm doing right now. I never thought about reading Moby-Dick. All I ever thought about was reading it.
Okay.
But I love to write, and I love books. And shortly after my father died, about 3+ years ago.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you, and sorry for yours. My father and I were very different people. But he taught me so much of what is practical in life. He was a practical man, and he taught me how simple love is. He didn't know he taught me that, but he taught me that.
Yeah.
That don't make it difficult. Just be there for your friends, be there for your family, and that's love. And as he grew older, he expressed his love more and more. Okay. And to the point where anytime I would visit and I would leave to go home, he would get a tear in his eye. And he would do that with all his kids. Yeah. And the closer he saw his finality coming, then the more I think he understood this concept of love, and this concept that it's okay to put things to rest and to be done with things.
Interesting.
Yeah, because shortly after my dad died, and we had his funeral, and I guided his funeral. I did the main eulogy for him. But so I had to, in the process of doing that, I had to research a lot about my dad, which was odd.
Interesting. Tell us more about your dad.
Yeah. My dad was, like I said, he was a appliance repairman, refrigeration man. He was not a scholar in a way. He was a scholar. He was a blue-collar worker. Worked all his life, at least 2 jobs for almost his entire working career. Okay. Great father, so much fun, a great husband. And he was not a reader. He read the newspaper. And as far as I know, I don't remember ever reading a book. But he sort of instilled in all of us children, this simplicity of life. Fishing. Fishing is it's such a base skill that can bring so much enjoyment. And it's not necessarily the thought of catching a fish. It's the thought of being out there with your family, being on the water or near the water, and with a goal in mind. And whether you achieve that goal or not was not what was important. It was more about being there. And I ran with that. I was very much I still am a be there kind of person. I've always been there for my friends and my family. I love that part. And so after he passed, I had this sort of flash in my head of that white whale on the spine of that book when I was in third grade. Imagine a camera flash in your eyes. And for that millionth of a second, I saw that whale. And I was like, okay.
Oh boy, it comes again.
Yeah.
It's alive.
I know, yeah. But this time, this was my dad. This time it was my dad talking. And I knew that. My dad was saying, trust me, you want to finish things. It's okay. And I realized then that, okay, I need to finish this book.
Okay.
And that's what started. But I realize now, because now I'm a bookbinder, I've done other writing, none of which I've finished, by the way. I've done plenty of writing and all drafts. But this time I thought, I'm going to do this one last time. And every time in the past, I've tried reading Moby-Dick. I kept blaming it on the book. The book was too big. The font was too small.
Excuses.
Paper didn't feel right. Yeah. So I would buy Moby-Dick and give it away. Buy it again, sell it at a garage sale. Buy it again, loan it to a friend, that sort of thing. But I realize now that I was going at it now with a different energy. I had my dad with me now. It was like, who again was not a reader, but he was a fisherman, and he knew fish, and he knew water, and he knew hunting fish. And I was like, okay, that's a good first mate to have on your boat. And so I decided that one last time, and I said, this will be my last time. If I can't do it this time, I'm done. I just consider it myself beaten. And so I went searching for the right book, because now I realize that what I want to do with this is I want to involve my skill as a bookbinder with this. And so not only am I going to read Moby-Dick, I'm also going to write about it, and I'm also going to rebind it. So when I'm done reading Moby-Dick, I'm going to rebind this. And so I'm going to go back into my draft and add to it as I'm rebinding it, because this is my way of capturing the whale, is I'm going to rebind this book. But I had to find the right book. It had to be the right way, the right format, I had to be comfortable with it. And I found this one online. This is the 1930 edition, first edition of Rockwell Kent's illustrated edition of Moby-Dick. Nice. And Rockwell Kent is a woodcut artist, very famous. And the book is completely littered with Rockwell Kent illustrations. Now, the beauty of this volume is that Moby-Dick, when it was published in 1851, was a failure.
I heard.
Yeah, it for being such an American classic now, people hated it. And during Melville's lifetime, it never saw success. The first edition now is a $250,000 to $1 million book, if you can get them. But this is the book. This is the one that made it famous. And the publisher, Random House, went to Rockwell Kent and said, "Hey, we want you to illustrate a book." And they said this book, and it wasn't Moby-Dick. And Rockwell Kent said, no, I will only illustrate Moby-Dick. And it was a blessing, because it was this book that made Moby-Dick famous in 1930.
So you think the illustrations played a big role in who did it to make it famous?
Oh, yeah. And that's where it feels so comfortable to me in my hands. It's an odd size. It doesn't conform to the world of books, and it's the dimensions are wrong. It is a kind of a misfit in its own way, and I loved that. And so eventually, and I found this edition online in Canada. And one of the things that I saw when I got it on eBay, and one of the things I loved the most was this little inscription.
Tom Borton.
Yeah.
From this.
From his Uncle Matt.
From his Uncle Matt.
Christmas 1930. So written the exact year that this was published. So this was a brand new book. And I write about this in my book, and I think, Tom, do you have any idea what you're about to get into?
Wow.
And what is your Uncle Matt doing to you? Why is he giving you this book? Is he cursing you too?
Here's this torture.
And so I've come to no avail. I've been trying to track down who this Tom Borton is, based on his Uncle Matt in 1930. No luck yet, but I haven't given up. But there's so much imagination went on in my head as to what this probably young man was thinking when he opened this book on Christmas Day, and looking at his Uncle Matt and thinking,
I just wanted a toy.
What is this? Yeah. I wanted a toy. I wanted, something.
Okay, so let's go back briefly before your father's passing. So before third grade, you open your arms wide, you go through the books, and you feel Moby-Dick. So it's also at that time, it felt like that also didn't belong there, right? Like this book you just described, it's uneven, or there's something that's like it doesn't fit.
Right.
But I guess the representation was there in third grade. That book didn't even fit in the whole theme of, third grade, I guess. So I guess it started then, but then, so you don't finish things.
Right.
And I think that is like what it is for you, I guess, at this point. It's like, I don't think you want to finish things, because once you do, it's checked off your list, and then there would be another thing that you would want to do.
Right.
But I guess there is this, I want to understand it more. I really do, because you have this crazy, strange connection with this book. But it's not just about the book itself, it's what it represents to you. Like there's a huge representation from the author to Ishmael within the book, which is also the author. But it's also kind of like you in a way. It's like, how much is there a draft of a draft at one point, kind of thing.
Right.
So that within like the span of 30 years of back and forth, you buy one, you sell it, it doesn't feel right, you give it away, the book, the writing, the text, the texture.
Right.
So like, why this now? Like you said that you found it online and it feels different. But like, why did you eventually truly settle on this? Because it looked like it was a battle back and forth.
Yes.
So you did make a decision. So that's like,
I did.
So why?
What's happening now is really a series of events that each of those events are drawing their own conclusion. And me simply clicking on buy it now on eBay was itself a conclusion to that little event. When the book arrived in the mail, it sat in a box for a couple days.
Oh my God. I want to know more.
Because I couldn't, and then eventually I had to open it. And that brought a conclusion to that little event.
Okay.
And so what I'm trying to do is call them baby steps or whatever it is. Call it a refashioning of my soul.
Okay.
I'm trying to work my way up into finishing the whole thing. And what I'm trying not to do is let everything else in life keep me from finishing it.
Okay.
As I'm sitting here today, and I mentioned, I think you thought my coming here meant that all of this was done.
Yes, last time we spoke was last October. Okay, it's been like 6-7 months.
Yes.
He said that he was going to be done by then.
No, yeah, I'm
But
not.
Kevin Oliver still keeps his promises of not finishing things. That's funny.
The whale is still swimming the sea.
Okay.
In the book, it is still alive. They are still going after it, but they are close now.
Okay.
And yes.
So because at the beginning, I thought that you were connected more to the author or maybe Ishmael in the story, but some clues from what you've spoken earlier makes it sound like your favorite character might actually be the whale.
You have to love the whale.
What is this? What does the whale represent to you? Who is it? Because it doesn't look like you want to capture it yet. You want it to be free.
This is part of the problem is that one of the promises I made to myself was that I would not, under any circumstances, spoil the ending. Mm-hmm. I still have no idea how that book ends.
Okay.
I've never watched the movie. I've never read summaries. Anytime people talk about it, I'm like, I'm out of here. Nope, I won't watch the movie. I won't do anything.
You're so funny.
Because I do not want to know. And I get hints at it. There are hints that Captain Ahab, the true maniac of the book, mm-hmm. is not going to make it through the book. This is sort of a common character understanding in literature. Mm-hmm. But no one talks about what happens to the whale. And so I still don't know, and I don't want to know, because you're very correct. I don't want the whale to die.
You don't want it to die.
But I don't think he can, because even Melville puts the whale on a level of deity. This whale is not just a whale. This whale is God. It's like it's been here forever. Mm-hmm. And it will be here forever. And yes, there is this sort of fear that especially as I get closer, that do I really want to know what's going to happen to this whale? But yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, right now I do.
Okay, so the question would be, at this moment, are you kind of afraid to know what's going to happen? Like, are you going to be kind of disappointed of like, oh, wait, he's gone? Or
whatever happens with it, I at this point, I will be okay.
Okay.
Because again, I think 50 years is long enough to have been on any journey. And as I mentioned in my book, I have spent far more of my life trapped inside of Moby-Dick. Yeah. Like Jonah almost. I am ready for a life outside of it. That's so cool. I really am. And because it has been a burden. It's been an emotional burden. There have been so many questions about myself left unanswered just in knowing that I have not finished this. Wow. And but it's almost like whatever powers guide the universe are now playing with me, knowing I'm so close. They're almost toying at me. And
we're going to mess with the weather. We're not going to let you mess with the weather. We're not going to let you finish the book.
Right. Yeah. So we were supposed to go to Florida last week. Yeah. At a business trip to meet one of my largest customer, who I've also never met in 18 years of working with him. Whoa. And we're still working on his collection. That hasn't finished yet either. Interesting. But it's getting closer. And so he was going to fly us out there and put a solid introduction for me and him to meet. Yeah. Once and for all. And I thought, what a great opportunity to finish Moby-Dick, because he lives on the ocean, and we will be a few steps from the beach. I'm gonna take this. I packed my bags. I packed Moby-Dick. I packed my fountain pen, and I was ready to go. Mm-hmm. And our plane was to leave Lincoln at 6:00 in the morning. We got to the airport, delay. This was last Tuesday, the 14th of April. And one delay after another, and we eventually find out that there is complete ground stoppage in O'Hare because of a storm. And as we hear about this, we're watching a beautiful sunrise in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I look on my weather app, and I'm looking at beautiful sunny weather in Florida. But for 4 hours, the one storm in this country, raging with tornadoes and the works, was at O'Hare Airport. So bad, it disrupted 800 to 1,000 flights within a few hours. And I just laughed.
It is a sign.
I was like, this is now frustratingly funny, because now the weather is even keeping me from this task.
Yeah.
And so, but the good thing is, what I always wanted to do, I was going to be happy being in Florida. But my goal has always been to be in Nantucket, because that's where the book starts. New Bedford and Nantucket, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And I always wanted to finish it there. So now we're planning a trip for May.
Oh, boy.
That will include Nantucket and then down to Florida to meet. So it's going to be one big roundabout trip. So fingers crossed.
Yes, I will send you good
knock
vibes.
on wood.
Or maybe not, because that's what you want. Maybe deep down within your core, you don't want it to be done yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a very interesting. Like I don't think I've ever encountered anyone with this kind of like legacy in a way.
Sure.
That you don't. I don't think you want to finish it yet.
No, but I think a lot of us live in this way. I think a lot of us have these things that we enjoy so much that we're afraid of them going away.
This representation is way bigger than just Moby-Dick and just a book.
For me, it's just a book.
Yeah.
I think we all have something.
But it also seems like for years and years, you kind of dove inside of that book. Like you built like a little house inside of it. You kind of like, Kevin Oliver belongs in this book. This book is me. This I identify. This is. It seems like there's so many deeper connections.
Right.
That's like, this is me. This is my mirror.
So what I'm doing in my writing, and this might help explain all this. I am not writing about Moby-Dick at all. This is not a book report. I make that very clear in the beginning. I'm writing about me. I'm writing about my dad, because I let the spirit of Melville flow into my writing. Okay. So I let things that happen in Moby-Dick trigger me to write about.
Okay.
So probably one of the easiest explanations is that there is a chapter about halfway through the book, about 400 pages into the book, where one of the chief mates of the ship, his name is Stubb, Mr. Stubb, a character in himself. Halfway through the book is when they encounter their first whale, by the way. So you have to read 400 pages before you get to the first whale.
Maybe you can just tell me about it.
Yes, I will do that. And so basically what happens is that they encounter their first whale, and Stubb is so excited that the first thing when they lower the boats, they have the large ship, then they lower the boats, the hunting boats. And different mates have their own boat. Stubb has his boat. And the first thing Stubb does is he pulls out his pipe, packs it with tobacco, puts it in his mouth, and lights it. Now, he is on the ocean in a small boat now, in the front of the boat with his pipe. And I read that, and I broke down in tears. That was one of the most emotional parts of the book for me, because when I was a boy, and I loved to go help my dad. He was an appliance repairman. Yeah. This would have been about 1975. We had this old Econoline van. It was great. The engine was right here. So Dad and the engine and me, little boy. And I would love to go with him on these service calls. So we'd be going to someone's house to fix their washing machine or something. And we would hop in the van, and the first thing my dad would do is pull out his pipe put tobacco in it, and light the pipe. And we would drive to where we were going. And for when I read that Stubb lit his pipe, that memory came back. It wasn't just the memory of Dad pulling out his pipe. I could smell the tobacco. I could smell the oily engine next to me. I could feel myself bouncing in that seat.
Yeah.
And I remembered the joy I felt of inhaling the exhalations of my dad's smoke, and just watching him. And, here's this young man, 35 years old, driving, smoking this pipe. And in Moby-Dick, when they kill the whale, and it's the name of the chapter is Stubb kills a whale. So it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. So they capture and kill the whale. And the moment in the very last breath of the whale, when that final harpoon goes deep into the heart of the whale, Stubb takes the pipe out and shakes out the pipe into the ocean. And at the same time that does that, the whale blasts its one final breath and then is dead.
Wow.
And I cried reading that scene, and I don't do it justice. I cried at the death of the whale, and I cried thinking about my dad, because that's exactly what he would do. As soon as we'd pull up in front of the house that we were going to, he'd take out his pipe, knock it out, knock the ashes out onto the ground outside the van, and then we would go do our work. So that's what I wrote about. I wrote a little bit about to set it up, but that whole chapter is about me and my dad and the pipe. And so that's the kind of thing I'm writing about.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that. So that's a lot to take in, because it's really not about Moby-Dick anymore. No. Like, okay, so 1 second, let's go. We talked about before your dad passing, and then you don't finish things. You want them to kind of like carry on. It's like a legacy in the making. You really don't want it to end. And then when your dad passed, you had that little like flash in your eyes. You said like an actual flash. Right. So I kind of want to talk more about, because I've been through that situation in a way of when I lost my father, there was some sort of a blast within me. It wasn't that exact incident, but many questions kind of surfaced to me about purpose, about who I am, what I want to do. Right. And I feel like to people in general, something, I don't want to call it drastic in a bad way, but there is a turning point in someone's life where it's like, everything's going to change now. Like there's no going back. From this point on, things will be different. So I feel like, I guess since your dad passed, you want to finish this. Yeah. But what I'm understanding also at the same time, it looks like your dad, when he gets into projects, he definitely finishes them. Yes. When it comes to work. And he finishes, he starts the pipe, he empties the pipe as like a final signature, and he kind of moves on. Yeah. At least for work. He would do that for work, and he would do that for fishing and a lot of things. But my father was also a lot like me in that he was okay just kind of living life on a daily basis. Okay. My mom always kind of joked. She said once, I'll always remember this. She said, your dad, you've heard that great phrase, don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. He said, well, your dad sometimes rewords that and says, if I can do it tomorrow, the hell with today. And I remember hearing that. And I remember thinking, I love that. I love that. But the trouble is I've kind of lived that too. Yeah. And so my father got to the point where his obsession was completeness. He wanted to be complete. He did not like a burned out bulb in the ceiling light fixture. Okay. But he became too old to repair it himself. So he had to wait for one of us to come. Okay. And without even coming in the door, we barely took a step in the door. And he'd be like, Kevin, I need that
bulb replaced.
He's ready for things
And I
to be
would be
done.
like, well, hi, Dad. How are you?
So tell me, after your father's passing and that thing that shifted within you, and you're like, this is my dad telling me to finish this. And then, like, I want to hear more about this. Like, what was it really about, other than like, okay, my dad is the one that kind of told me this? I'm more interested what happened within you that made you believe or think that this is it. This is the sign that I've been needing. Like, how come?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, now that my dad is gone, I'm next. You know, my mom's still here, and we relish every day that she lives with us, and we have such fun. But I'm my father's son, and my brothers and we're next. And it's like, I can't keep doing this, you know, because I started realizing when my dad died, he did not want for a single thing. He finished his life happy and complete. You know, he had, as I put in my book, he had no dragons to slay, no battles to win. He was happy dying the way he died. And I think his message to me was, you need to find that peace in you. And how I took that was, I'm next. I'm coming up on 60. You know, and I have to think about these things now. My beard is white. My hair is leaving me.
It looks good.
Thanks. My memory is starting to be fleeting. I have, you know, my back hurts, all these things. And I'm starting to see this familiarity with my dad. And I'm realizing I need to slay my dragons. I need these, I will not ever relinquish my imagination, but I need to put to rest a lot of the things. I need to stop not finishing things.
Yeah. Because you're next.
Because I'm
Apparently,
next.
this is
There's
but it's. I mean, we can't run away from death. Like
no.
Yeah. And once you lose someone so close to you, death does become part of that. It's like, I could be next. My mom could be next.
Right.
Anyone that you know could be next.
Right.
The closer it gets to you, and you see it firsthand, you're like, wait, I'm not immune to this.
Right. And it's all about Moby-Dick is all about mortality. There's no sense of living forever except for the whale. Everybody else.
We're gonna let the whale live free.
Yeah, let him go. You know, and to me, that's where the waves come from.
Yeah.
You know, that's where the tsunamis come from. This is Moby-Dick swimming the seas. You know, but for the rest of us, I think you know, my mortality is there. It's kind of tapping me on the forehead. It's like, okay, you need to know that I'm here. You need to start completing the tasks. You know, I need something. You know, I'm so looking forward to being done with this book.
Me too.
You know, and maybe we can talk again. So
maybe
I do, or at
next,
least give
maybe
you a
next
copy.
season we can definitely do that. So
Yeah.
I want to ask. So you briefly mentioned about what you're writing in your book. It's obviously not about Moby-Dick, but it's about you. It's father-son kind of situation.
Father-son, but not just that. But it's family. It's just, but it's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could be kind of like Ishmael, telling the
A
story.
lot of me is Ishmael.
Okay.
And that was true in the first few pages, which is so interesting also because in these first few pages that I even read as a child, I didn't catch on that, you know, Melville talks about Ishmael saying, when I basically feel empty and alone, I look for the watery parts of the world, you know, and what a wonderful thing, you know, and we all have our watery world that we're looking for to that sense of adventure. You know, this podcast is an adventure for you, you know, and I'm just, even for a little bit, happy to be on your boat. So I think there is a catharsis in aging. There's an understanding that I'm not a kid anymore. in my brain, a lot of me is, and that little boy will still be there forever. But, you know, I'm not, you know, and I need to consider the future.
The future is either capturing Moby-Dick or just letting him go forever. Because you got to close that chapter. And not because you're next, but I think it's time for that chapter or for that book to kind of just close.
Right.
And just kind of, do you think you think you really will finish the book?
Absolutely.
Like this is certain. This time there's no going back.
There is no going back. I committed myself to that, as I mentioned before. This is my last time. I've told myself this is, you know.
You're gonna give me a call, shoot me an email, tell me, hey, I guess what?
It's done.
But that's not gonna be next year, right?
I'm gonna send you a picture of my feet in the Atlantic Ocean with the book closed and the bookmark pulled out.
I am extremely excited to actually read your book. Are you gonna publish it? Well, you're gonna bind probably your own book.
I'll bind my own copy. I'm gonna bind that one, but I'll bind my own copy. I hope it's worth publishing. I have a couple of friends who are reading it as I move along, and so far they are really entranced by it and moved by it. It's brought even them a couple spots to tears, which was kind of my goal, not all the time, but they cried in the right spot, you know, and I was happy with that because it makes me cry every time some of these things of, you know, and I laugh when I'm supposed to laugh, that sort of thing.
I can relate to that a lot with the things that I've written. Sometimes when I read them, I just cry because it resonates so much. It's like a piece of you that you actually wanted to share with someone else. And I think that's why it's worth reading. That's why maybe it's worth publishing. Right. I would love to have a copy.
Oh, of course.
Signed by you eventually when you finish it. And
And right now my writing is like a whirlpool in the ocean. It's going in a circle because I'm not done. I'm at a point where I have to finish this before I can finish my writing.
So how far is it? Like a couple of pages?
For Moby-Dick?
Yeah.
I think 40 pages.
40 pages until the end?
Yeah.
Okay, so 40 pages meaning 40 months, meaning with every page.
Yep.
No,
it will when the situation is right, it'll take me an hour and a half to finish it.
Okay.
But I don't want to compromise. You know, I could finish it in the coffee shop. Could have done that a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But it's too much, just too big for me. And I do, and as I mentioned, I do this with a lot of books. I try to find that right situation to finish a book.
Yeah.
So.
But now, given all the circumstances and the promise that it sounds like you made to yourself, as your dad told you, this, you know, intuition, you got to finish it.
Yeah.
I hope that you do.
Thank you.
A long time coming, and I would love to see your book. I'm extremely glad that you were actually able to make it today. I was so happy to hear back from you, and just kind of share your story. I think this was amazing. I'm still really intrigued. I want to go more, but I think we're at time at the moment.
Okay.
But once the book is binded and you're ready to share it, I would love to have you for next season. We can maybe expand and discuss more of your Moby-Dick. Does it have a title yet?
It does, but I can't tell you
Don't
yet.
tell me yet. Okay.
That's part of the plot of my book is not knowing what the title is until the time is right. So, yeah.
I understand. Kevin Oliver, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for being on You and Aya. Is there anything you want to say before we wrap up today?
Never lose your imagination. Okay. That's all I can say. How old you are. Yep.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I will leave projects unfinished.
No, didn't say that.
That's how I imagine. Okay, I think we're good. We can just kind of talk for a bit. I think we're rolling. We're good. Kevin, seriously, this was amazing. Thank you so much for watching the first episode of season 3 of You and I with Kevin Oliver. What a cool episode. Honestly, it was so much fun. It was the first one I did, and I was nervous, man. I was really nervous, but there we are. We made it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Link in the bio. Next episode is with Dr. Helen Fagan. We're gonna dive deeper into emotional intelligence. Make sure you watch this one. See you then.